Okay, so thank you for coming. I brought some notes just to make sure I hit all my points here. So I wanted to talk about servant leadership and how volunteering has really, sharing my experience with volunteering and how it's impacted my ability to lead, I believe. So a little bit about me. I just kind of told you already, but I work for an engineering company. I'm the deputy manager of our project management group. And it's been a lot of learning and growing throughout the years. And I'm really fortunate to be working with my boss, who I believe is just perfect picture of what a servant leader is. And I think that's really what makes a good leader. So I wanted to put it out there. My first question to you all is, what do you think the difference is between a leader and a boss?
I think the difference between a leader and a boss is a leader actually has people that support you. A boss is people that does what you throw.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Lead by example.
Exactly. Love it. Yeah. So a boss, in my opinion, is really someone just giving orders. They're designated as this title, right? Versus a leader is someone that people are motivated by this person to follow them. You know, they're leading by example, like you said, and I think that's that's really the big picture here. And I think, tying it into our mission statement with the Salvation Army, I think the Bible is a really good roadmap to what a good leader is. You see so many stories about the good leaders in the Bible that are serving people. You also see the stories of the leaders that are not serving people and they end up being bad leaders, or that's the perception of them, right? So the other point I want to make is leaders are not necessarily always bosses, and the opposite is also true. So even if you're not a boss by designation, you can be a leader in whatever institution you're in, whatever career path you're in. And I think that's really special to keep in mind. And I think that's something that throughout my journey and my career, I've always kept in the back of my mind. I wasn't always a boss, but taking it upon myself to go beyond what my job title or what my job description was, I think really helped me get to where I am today. And I think volunteering has also really played a big part in that. So my next point is, what do you think makes a great leader?
I think one attribute that makes a great leader is knowing when to take a step back and let someone else lead that might be very equipped.
Yeah.
I think pride and ego often get in the way of leadership. Okay, because I'm a leader, therefore I must have all the answers. A wise leader knows, hey, I don't have the answers, but maybe Matthew does. Maybe Foon's right.
Yeah.
And I can support him in doing that. Of course.
Always listening to your crew. Yeah. Because if you don't, they're more, paying attention to certain details than you are. And so it's always take input and be humble.
Great, yeah. All completely valid points, and I could not agree more. I think that, in leadership, not being afraid to ask questions or say, hey, I don't know the answer. I think that's a sign of, it's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of vulnerability, and ultimately that's a sign of strength, because it's hard being vulnerable. It's hard saying, I don't know the answer. And people are looking to you for the answer, but not knowing and then going to find the answer, that's, I think, what makes a great leader.
That's fine.
And back to the point about how the best leaders lead by example, that's very true. In my company, my boss, I see her all the time. She's She's always checking, making sure that everybody is okay, making sure that, just to be transparent, this year has been really, really tough for my group. A lot of my team members have lost family members. I had someone that just lost their father. I had someone that just lost their mother at the beginning of the year. And that's really hard to support a team through that. But what I've seen through my leader and the person that I really look up to is in every instance, she's been there for them. It's not about what, them doing the work or delivering. It's more about, are you okay as a person? And that I thought was like, that is a leader. That is a leader. That's a boss and a leader. Being vulnerable and allowing that person to, take the time that they need to grieve. So my third point is about how volunteering builds leadership skills. So I think when we care for others and we're focusing on others, we're not focusing on ourselves. And I think that's part of what makes a great leader. We're able to look at the big picture because we're not focusing on ourselves and how our reputation looks, how our ego feels. We're focusing on how our team is doing, how well they're performing. And there was a book that I read recently. It's called Leadership and Self-Deception. And it talks about this concept of a box. And what that box represents is in your life, you think about, any instance that you're faced with, any situation. You are looking at it from inside of a box. It's your little bubble. That's, the way you view things. But I think with leadership and with volunteering, because you're focusing on others, you're able to take that step back and see the bigger picture because you're not clouded, your judgment's not clouded by ego because you're focusing on others. So I really, really liked that idea, and that stuck with me for a while, that when you're focusing on others, you're not focusing on self. And when you're not focusing on self, you're able to see the bigger picture of what's going on, what's really going on in a situation, in any situation.
Yes.
And I think with the Salvation Army, there's so many amazing opportunities. I think what they're doing is incredible. And I haven't been on the board for very long. I haven't been involved that long. It's been a little over a year. But what I have been able to take from the Salvation Army is we're involved in everything. We're involved in helping people that have just come out of prison, that are, getting back on their feet. Women that have been in abusive relationships that needed to get away. Like we were helping children in underprivileged areas. And I think that mission is so beautiful because we're involved in so many different things. So this past year, I was involved in packing backpacks for students, and amazing seeing the students really appreciate, they're like, oh my gosh, we got a brand new backpack. Like, wow, look at all this stuff that we got, and seeing them light up, that's like priceless. So I love that so much. Yeah. So I believe that leadership, it's all tied in with volunteering and, just focusing more on others rather than self. And so I challenge you all to think about this, that how, leaders are not always bosses and bosses are not always leaders. So what aspect in your life do you think you can work on or you're already doing to exhibit leadership rather than just management? And is there anything you would do differently?